Alright, for today's video we're gonna bring it to the back. So it's finally time to get to a project I've wanted to do for quite a while, and that is to get a better onboard air setup, mainly because of the air locker. So in the back I got an aux locker that still is not hooked up. It's air actuated. I do have a Viair portable pump that I've been using for a while to like fill up tires, and it works pretty well. It's a little slow, probably takes like 3 minutes to do each tire, so it'd be kind of cool to have a tank and see if we can maybe speed up the process a little bit, just see how everything works. So I just ordered a leader hose, like a proper leader hose that would go from the tank to the pump, and we'll just take off the male fitting from the pump and connect this. So what I'm actually doing is I'm going to run this setup off of my portable tank, the portable pump. That is a 400p A or something. It's the automatic version, and it's one of the fastest filling pumps that they have. The only thing is this is only a 33% duty cycle pump, whereas some of the other pumps that they have, they fill less air, but they're 100% duty cycle. So that's something you have to look out for, is depending on how long you want your pumps to run. For me, I figured the tank is going to help store air because the locker doesn't take a lot, so I can just fill it up once and then be good for a while. But yeah, this is the pump that I have here. It's got one of these male doodlies on there, and this is the 400p A. So yeah, it's got 2.54 CFM at 0 psi. That is pretty high. There's only a couple other pumps that go a little higher than that, but yeah, I think I'm gonna be happy with that. And the cool thing is, since this is the auto version, it already has the cutoff, the switch for the pressure cutoff. It's got a pressure cutoff switch built into it, so we won't need one on the pump. Alright, so you know me, I can't just leave things alone. I gotta take stuff apart. So I was looking into the pump and how this whole thing is connected. So we got this little open tube foamy grip, your homie foamy, and then you got this section right here, which does all that business. So I started loosening this end, and it took that end out, but you know, that's okay, I guess. Lots of green schmoo. I don't know if that's some kind of Loctite or sealant or anything like that. But yeah, it's just a straight shot tube through there. So in order to get this thing out, you have to unthread this connection first. I wasn't sure what that was at first until you take it apart. But that is actually our switch right in there. So this is our pressure switch that actually turns the thing on and off. So do not twist this bottom bolt, or nut. Don't twist that bottom nut. What that does is twist the switch inside, and if you do that too much, you're going to twist your wires apart. So yeah, don't do that. But we can actually see what the switch is rated for on here. So you can see it turns off at 150 and turns on at 120, and that's correct. It's a 30 amp rated switch. So all that does is it disconnects the positive power, and that comes right after the switch. Wish the thing would get a little brighter so you could see in there. Come on. There you go. So you can see the switch over there, and then the ground over here is just connected to ground for that. But that's all that does. Just got your power and then your pressure switch. So in order to take this out, the two halves spin independently. So unthread the top out of this this port over here. But that's what senses our pressure. So we kind of got to keep that. So I'm deciding how I want to do this. But we might just have to take this part out and put the leader hose in that instead, because I don't know if we have the fittings to take this tube out and put that there. But you know, what's the point? You're not really saving that much room. So also for these bolts here, the Allen head bolts actually thread into this block. So that's what holds the case to the block. And then you got the nuts on the other side. So take the nuts out first, and then you can unscrew the Allen heads. But that's how all that goes together, so that's kind of cool. So good news, it does come out. But it's in there good. It uses some kind of green thread sealant, which does its job really good. It really seals the bastard up. She ain't coming out easily. But 14 millimeter and a nice big 1/2 inch bar, and just take it real slow and you can get it to break free. But it takes a lot of force. it's not in the vise for nothing. So apparently I forgot to talk about the leader hose. So this is the part that goes from the pump to the tank, and the important thing here with having a leader hose is a check valve. So if you notice that big silver thing, that is what keeps the air in the tank without pushing it into the pump. So it's a one-way valve. That way it holds it in the tank. So even if you disconnected the pump, you'd be fine. And you can see there's an arrow to show you which way it has to go. So that's cool. This end right here is a swivel, so it's real easy to tighten and put where you want. Part 2 of the leader hose is the end over there. Yeah, don't mind this. This is future stuff. But that end wasn't it wasn't deep enough to go into the pump. So if you want to use that without taking it apart and doing all the stuff you're going to see later, you'll have to get like a male to female extension, so that hopefully the extension can thread into the base of the pump a lot deeper to actually seal, but still have the stick out for the leader hose to fit and seal as well. So that was the main issue. So if you can find a little extension, then you can probably skip a lot of the stuff you're going to see. Okay, so I got everything wired up. It looks like the leader hose fits in there. It's a little loose at first, so I'm assuming it's an MPT. So we got it. Run into the hood, see what happens. It's leaking out of something. Something somewhere, something wrong. It's supposed to be threaded out. Is that the issue? I thought it was the other way around. Oh, son of a gun. I knew that. Okay. Look at that. Oh, you can't see anything. It seems we got a bit of an air leak in a couple places, but that's fine because not everything's tight. But proof of concept does work. It actually pumps. Cool. Well, I think we might be onto something. So now we can focus more on trying to figure out where to mount the pump. Okay, so I guess I should update you with where I'm at right now. Finally back in the getting this damn thing together phase. So we got all kinds of adapters and things like that, and just crap all around. I got the whole thing apart again. First off, on this thing, I unthreaded the other end. I just put the tube in a vice grip and took it out. It's MPT on the one side, but the other side is just regular fine thread. It's not MPT, so there goes that as an adapter. The other part, I don't see any threads in that. I don't know what the heck's going on with that. I don't know if it's pressed or just sealed or whatever the heck it is, but whatever. So we got a 1/4 inch on this, and the sensor, the switch is 1/8 inch. So that's all that this was, is just an 1/8 inch fucking swivel extension. So we got this going on here. This is kind of what I got going on. So we're gonna have a T-fitting over here. One side's gonna go into the pump. The other side we got a 1/4 to 1/4, and then we have an adapter from 1/4 to 1/8, and then 1/8 to that sensor. Ideally, it'd be better to just have like a 1/4 inch male to an 1/8 inch female, like what it came with on the locker. If I had another one of those, that would be perfect. But we don't, so oh well. I can always get fittings later. I just really want to get this hooked up. So I got the base separated, took the little rubber nubbies out, and just take a small flathead and slowly work the thing through. You'll get it out. But yeah, I'd like to work on mounting, so I traced the base, so we have our 4 circles, and it's going to sit somewhere over here. I haven't decided how high or low I want it. I feel like I want it higher up, but I don't know. Is there really going to be much of a benefit? We'll find out. So yeah, I'm going to start doing my cardboard magic, see if we can get some kind of template. The only issue that I'm seeing is for the mounting surface. This right here is the wheel well. Alright, the tire's right underneath that. So ideally it'd be nice to have like a 45 onto this with like something that screws through. But if you come over here, that's what this is. This hump right here, that would be where that screw's coming out. And that's going to chew up your tire. So we can't have that. Also, you know, water and stuff splashing up there all the time and crap like that. So what I'm thinking instead is maybe I'll try to go farther inward over here where it's not that anymore. Because if you check at a certain point, it goes up a little bit. So right where the flat part is where that dividing line is. And then you're going inside the body instead of inside that fender well. So right here, right, if we can screw right to the edge of that, then we'll be inside instead of outside. Anyway, I'll let you know what I come up with. This is a rather involved project. Alright, well, I got a little cardboard abortion going on here. And it's starting to come into the shape of something. So we're going to have 3 mounting points here. We have a little X system going down here to mount to the side. Got a little tiny side support on that. And then we're going to tie into that top piece for this support. So the nice thing about building stuff out of cardboard is that it's flimsy. So you can easily tell where the weak point is. So like say we got a bolt right there, you can still tell that this entire thing wants to bend forward. Yeah, with steel it'll hold its shape more, but it gives you an idea of where the stress is actually going. So even with this cross brace, all of the force is still focused on this little right angle. So we need to have something to hold it against the thing here. Now sure, you could just do a little right angle into here, but this whole section here is all open. I was looking at old video and there's nothing. This is completely hollow behind this. So I don't want to rely on just the plastic to hold that pump up. So that's why we're going to go off this guy, since it's actually into metal. And that should hold us a little better. So now I'm going to see if there's any spots that we can remove metal, just so that there's less material to have to use. But yeah, otherwise I guess we could kind of start cutting and actually get something done here. Alright, back to the scrap pile. So here's something interesting. Look at that. It fits perfectly. I didn't even like, what? Look at that. It's beautiful. So I guess we'll just trace that out like that. And boom, look at that bracket. Easy as cake. Okay, step 1 complete. Even got a little lip down there for extra strength. Nice. Cut-off discs, man. They are great. Okay, so I think I'm finally onto something. Got ourselves the 1 foot cut out over here. We got that just clipped back there, so it's suspended. And then we got our little mini bracket for this foot right here. So overall, we'll have 3 different locations that'll be supported from. Even got my angle finder out so she's zeroed, so it matches the tank. So in case anyone has that eagle level eye, it'll be level. So with these freaking funky goofy angles here, I'm going to try to figure out how I can have this sit where I need it to. And I guess I'll just tack it into place, make sure it's good, and if it is good, then we'll weld her up and drill some holes. Start screwing. Alright. So I got the first leg welded on. As usual, the first one's usually the worst. Baby. I had my voltage way too high. Started burning holes right through the thing. So I lowered it up. Had to bump up the wire speed because it wasn't filling. So after a couple passes, it looks, not quite bird shit anymore, you know. Still not great. Anyway, got ourselves a little welding 45, 90 angular thing. So we're just going to tack that 1 foot, make sure it's in the right spot, then run a bead. That one might look a little better, who knows. Alright, there we go. It's starting to look like something, huh? Neat. So, this side actually looks halfway decent because it was easy to get to. This side, yeah, the wire was sticking real far out of that gun and I just, I really only hit that just to cover the big blobs I had before. Oh well. For what it's doing, it's built well. It's built well enough. So we got that. The only thing that I can think of now is just to add a little cross brace from here to here, just so it's less bendy on this area. But before I do that, I think I'm going to drill and bolt this down, because this still isn't quite at the angle I'd like it to be. So once it's in its final resting place, then we'll brace it so it's actually where it should be, because it's hard getting the angles on that. It's pain in the butt. Got holes drilled, and we got our first look into the outside world. Oh baby. So where does that come out? Right there. Not bad. I don't think the tire will be eating that. And what we can do is, once we do get this threaded in, we could just grind down the tip a bit. So we'll figure something out. So I made sure to purposely make this hole a little small. These are actually the self tappers that were holding the bottom of the tire carrier thingy. So yeah, they have a little bit on them. So we're just going to put that in the gun and drive that down so it cuts its own hole. And the thread should fit in there nicely. So I wanted to do this weird one first, make sure that sits flat wherever, and then we'll get to the other two. They're all drilled and bolted in there. This bastard's sturdy. This is the only corner that's not really supported. This one's got support off the back. This front, oh my god, that is so rock solid, dude. And this ain't bad. It bends down a little bit, but you know, we're not stepping on it. Although you probably could just about. This is helping quite a lot, stabilizing it. So yeah, we just got a little bit of bendy here, so a little right there, you good to go. Now that other screw comes out over yonder, so it's not bad. That's our two locations. I think we'll be fine. And if not, like I said, we can always just cut them down. So, starting to rain out, lovely. But we're finally at the point where we have a platform. Holy crap! We can finally put the pump down, huh? Look at that! Wow, buddy. So all we have to do now is drill 4 holes, and the pump is bolted in, man. Oh my god, look at that! Look at that sweet little setup, huh? Ain't that something? That's solid. Guess we'll put the cover on just so we know about where to evenize this. Oh, I might just push it far back. So the only annoying part is going to be trying to bolt this down so that our rubber thingies have a spot to go. Because if you notice over here where I welded, it's kind of hard to drill through a weld. So I don't know. We'll have to see what we come up with. Worst comes to worst, we could flip these inwards. Then you'd be onto something, but yeah, cool. There you go. Okay, so because of where I welded this foot, I actually took this bracket and flipped it to the other side. So instead of it being on the outside, it's on the inside now. And that clears our weld just fine. So now we got our 4 1/4-inch holes cut and ready to go. So I'm just going to deburr them. Then we can pop these little rubber boys in there. Last step is just to weld on one little support piece. We're good to go. Pump bracket is done. Alright, so here we are. Got the pump mounted up. So the easy way was you take these bottom brackets off, push the rubber things through, then bolt the pump onto the brackets, and then put the bracket on. So yeah, she's sitting there. And the nice thing is, with the rubber, there is a little leeway, so even if your holes aren't dead center, you're still good. So we still got plenty of wiggle room. So she shouldn't be going too far anywhere. So we got a little bit of up and down right here. But besides that, everything else is pretty solid. So yeah, the only thing that would really fix that is some other mounting point, either something off here to here, or something here to, you'd have to go up kind of high, but whatever. We'll see how that goes. So now I'm just deciding how I want to do this. I'm planning on, I guess, putting the hose here, like that, and then we'll have our 1/4-inch, or yeah, 1/4-inch MPT to male, and then female quarter to female eighth. Something like that. But all that's left now is basically just wiring and hooking up the hoses, so just about there. If we were to thread that in, plug it in, it would work. So ain't that cool? Nice. Okay, so here we are in the daylight. So here's the mount and all that. I feel like the it's come a little far out on this side. I'm not sure what's going on with that. But whatever. I'd like it to sit farther that way. But it's just not feeling it for some reason, so whatever. I don't know if it's got to get bent in a different direction or what. But here's the setup that we got for the fittings. So I opted for a long extension here for this T-fitting, just so that this hose has plenty of wiggle room. So there's plenty of freedom for however the heck we want to let that sit. And we got clearance here, so even with the weebly wobblies, we should be all right. And then I got the shortest extension possible for that little guy, for the adapter into the switch. These lugs are soldered on there, which sucks, so I'm gonna have to carefully remove them, and then we can hook up our wiring. Still deciding how I want to do that, but we're getting there. So once we all the threads have blue Loctite on them. I didn't have thread sealant, so I figured blue Loctite was the next best thing. I didn't want to use red in case, you know, we ever have to get these fittings apart again. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, all we gotta do is run wire now, and she should be golden. So I had to pop this guy into the vise just to get those darn lugs off. They were on there pretty good, so don't expect to reuse them. They must be some kind of silver solder or something, because they need a lot more beef to get off. So drop the soldering iron, get yourself a soldering gun. It's yeah, I don't know how old this is, but it's pretty old. Little Radio Shack model, 1.2 amp, that's it. Dude, the thing shakes when you turn it on. You can hear it vibrate. That's how powerful this crazy bastard is. Yeah, probably 20 seconds with this takes it right off. So now that that's free, we can use some female terminals, pop them on in there and be good to go. Though these might be a little small on the gauge side, we might have to go to a bigger style, but we'll just interface it somehow. We'll figure something out. Now this right here is absolute overkill. This is a 1.0 wire gauge cable. It's ridiculous. This is huge. This was made by the guy at jeepcables.com. I have his regular battery cable setup, replaces all the main battery cables and connections, and they're real nice. So I asked him if he could make some bigger stuff for my rear power. So you don't need this just for this system. This is extremely overkill. It's not bad, but it's not necessary. I mean, just look at the wires that the pump is running versus the wires that these things are. Like, a big difference. This thing only takes, like, I forget if it's like 10 or 15 amps or something. It's, I don't know. There's a fuse in here. It is, oh, it's actually a 40 amp fuse. All right, fair enough. But the reason I'm going so big is because I want this to power my sub as well, because I have a power cord just for driving the sub now, and it does okay, but I want to get a bigger sub. So for any other rear power needs, heck, you could probably even jump start a car off this if you really wanted to, but we are going to run this through the firewall and over to somewhere around here so that we can have a rear distribution point for our positive power. So, yeah, trying to find a grommet and a hole to fit that through is going to be fun. I think we're going to have to drill a new hole in the firewall for once. So, yeah. Now we get to run positive power to the back of the vehicle. Alright. Recognize this guy at all? This is from an old hood release cable. I just cut the tiny bit off so that now we have a grommet, because I don't have any freaking grommets laying around. So, this is just the right size to fit through this guy. So we'll drill a hole through the firewall in a safe spot, we'll grommet it up, and slip her on through. So we need to plan on where our wire is going to come in at. So we have our fuse box. You see those wire, that green wire? That is the hood release cable, and then we got other stuff. So what I'm going to do is go over the hood release cable And to the right a little bit, there's a nice open spot, no wires, nothing in the way, nothing for us to hit. So that should be nice. And that translates over here to all this. So we're gonna be right about there. Start drilling. So I took the washer bottle out just so we can have a straight shot in there, get a proper angular, like so. So that's in there. We are stepped up to a ½ inch so far. And something that you want to be cognizant of is where that drill bit's gonna go. So if we lift this up, you can see that we're actually clearing all of our wires. But you want to make sure that there's nothing in that line of fire that's going to get caught and wrapped up. So that's how really bad things happen. So, you know, just be careful about where that bit's going. Stay safe, folks. Alright, got that hole opened up to about 1/4 inch. So now this guy fits through there. Cool beans. And our grommet should fit. So we can slap that in there and slide our wire through. Woohoo! She slides right in there. Grease pig. Yeah, buddy. Alright. We got our wire entrance hole. So now we just do a little loop-de-doo and we're good. Alright, so I just wanted to show how this is all set up. So we've got this running straight to the battery over here. So we have a little jumper that goes to a Mondo fuse. That's just rated at 125 amps. So that way if there's any ever shorts, the fuse will blow instead of the car catching on fire. So we just have that running up over the firewall, behind everything as safely as possible over the booster, and in das hole. Very nice. So that'll be good. And then we just have it very carefully tucked around and just loosely tucked underneath the trim and running all the way to the back. You can see it there. So put that in the back, and now we got the wires. Yeah. Now it's time to take the operations to the front of the vehicle. So we have a switch and we need a location. My stuff is getting a wee bit full over here. So we're going to mount right up in here. It'll be nice next to the shifter. Shouldn't be much of a problem. So I'm probably going to put it in sidewards like that. We're just going to Dremel it out. You could also put here if you want, but I feel like that would be more some busted knuckle style stuff. So we're not going to do that. If you want to get really ballsy, you might be able to put 2 there. It'd be a tight squeeze, but, you know. Anyway, got our trusty Dremel. We're going to try this diamond bit out. Cut you a hole, slide it in. Okay, so I dug up ye old diagram so we can see how this switch actually works. Got the hole cut out. It didn't look all that pretty before, but that's where the file comes in. I always cut it way too small and then slowly open it up until she fits in there the way that she should. So she'll be fine. So now we'll take a look at the diagram over here. So we are interested in the switch over here. So we can see that our positive power comes from 2. Okay. So if we look on the back, we have on the left side in the middle is 2. And then underneath that we got 3. And then on the top is 7. So this has got our 3 pins that we need. 2 is the positive in, 3 is the power out, and 7 is ground for the light. So pretty simple stuff. Now the way that we're going to be using this is only a 20 amp fuse, or this is only a 20 amp switch, and that compressor has a 40 amp fuse. So this switch already can't handle it, but I don't ever like to run loads through switches. It's not worth it. I'm going to burn the damn things out. So we are going to hook up a relay, wherever the heck that got to. So it'll still get hooked up the same. 2 will still have power, 3 will have power out. But then we're going to go over to das Relay. So if you ever seen one of these done there handy packs, you can actually buy the 4 and 5 pin relay sockets. So we got a socket right here that we can hook up. Now this one isn't going to have the diagram on it, but when you get relays you can tell. So we're going to have our 85 and our 86 pins, which are going to be for the coil. That's going to be what the switch turns on and off. That's the low power side. And then we've got 30, 87, and 87A to play with. So we got 30, 87, 87A. And generally 87 is the power output that will run the pump, and 30 is your power in to run the pump. But we could do some crazy stuff where like you hook 30 up to the pump, and then you have like your power from the relay, and then you could also have the power to another switch, so you could have like 2 switches control this thing technically, or some weird stuff like that. It you know, depends what you want to do, but I think we're going to keep this simple, and we're just going to have the relay doing the business. So what we're going to do is the positive power is going to go to 87, so that's going to be our output from the relay, and then our power in will go to 30, and then we just got to run a line for the coil. So since this is only going to be a signal wire, it's not going to have a lot of load on it, we can do a thin gauge wire, and we'll just run that up and down and doobity-doo through and there. So I'm going to try and find myself some kind of nice, you know, it could be like 18 gauge even, doesn't have to be that big. Just got to run it out to here. We can hook that relay up. Okay, so in case anyone knows how to read electrical diagrams, here is the entire monster of wiring setup that we have over here. So let's focus at the top first. So we have our battery, which obviously ground is grounded, and our positive goes to 2 separate areas. So we have our positive feed on 30, that is the power for the pump. Now this is where that monster 125 amp fuse is, but that's just for the wire itself. If you were using a thinner wire and you only wanted 1 fuse, then this would be the 40 amp. But this is where the power is switched. So the main power is switched through the relay from this coil side. This is our rocker switch. So this is our input that comes in. I should probably label those, but this is number 2. This is number 7, the ground for the light. And then this one is number 3, which is our output. So when you flip the switch, 12 volt power can go through the relay into ground, and that's what closes this. So now when we flip this, that flips. Okay, so now let's move on. So here's the rest of the stuff at the back of the vehicle. So after the relay, we have our 40 amp fuse that's running to the pump. And again, you could always just put this at the very beginning. It's just that was already in the wire, so figure why not. So we have our 40 amp. Then we have our power switch, which is on like the back of the pump. So that one has to be closed for this to work. And then after that, we have our pressure switch. So the 150 to 120 psi. That switch has to be closed, and then the pump will work, and the pump was just brought to ground. So we got quite a lot of switches going on here. Got to flip this switch to flip this switch, make sure that switch is flipped, that switch needs to be flipped, and then the motor will turn on. Make sense? Alright, this good old trailer plug wire coming in to the rescue once again. I love this thing, man. It's like 15 feet of like 4 or 5 different strands of wire. It's great. So we're going to use our brown yellow wire because that is one of the longer ones that we have here. So I'm going to run that up to the front, and it's going to follow the same path that the reverse light relay follows. So we're going to come down this trim panel, we're going to go underneath, back behind the seat, and we're going to go through that and under the console. And when it all goes right, we'll come out somewhere over here. So that'll be the feed wire to feed the relay. So we'll run that in there, make sure we get a little extra, and we'll go from there. So it's running through the crack. I fished it up under here on the behind the shifter, and then I grabbed it and was able to scootle the boodle through there with the rest of my wires and have it come out over here. Cool. So now we can put our connector on that, run that where we need it, and electrical tape it so it's all nice and neat and out of the way, and we'll be doing all right. So this is what we got here. Got our wire slid in there. I like to solder it just to make sure it's extra secure and crimp. Good to go. All right, so our connector's on there, are ready to go. Sweet. Okay, so I'm trying to decide exactly how I want to do this. So the power is going to go through the switch. So the pump, we're going to extend this wire a little bit into this guy. I have some 10 gauge wire. That should be fine for the amps we're pulling. As long as we stay under 10 feet, that's a-okay. Because that's the interesting thing with wire gauge. The farther you have to go, the thicker the wire, because of voltage drop and things like that. You can look online and find charts for 12 volt amperage to wire gauge charts. It'll tell you exactly what you need for how far you're trying to go. But anyway, 10 gauge will be fine for us. So we're going to have one wire go into the switch, other side from the factory went into this line, so that the power has to go from the relay, fuse, switch, and then this switch. So all right, yeah, we're basically just extending the wires at this point. So longer wire, both into these. Good to go. All right. Okay. So we had to upgrade our setup from the little dinky ones to a yellow guy. This is good for 12 to 10 gauge. So those are crimped on there and soldered. You are going to need a big honking solder gun, and I mean solder gun, in order to get this guy going. So now that that's in place, we can slide our heat shrink and be good to go. Nice. Alright, so here we are. We've got our wires soldered, heat shrunk, good to go. So we're going to feed that up through the hole in there, and then we can connect to our switch, tighten down our switch, and the pump side is good. So then all we got to do is provide power to the pump. There we go, both of our wires attached to the switch, run into there. These are just kind of tight for now. That's just floating. Not really too much we can do about that unless we glue it down. So everything should be good. I got a little impatient, so I got the stock wires, jump right over the battery. So what do you think? Does it blow up? Does it work? Contact. That's weird. The wire was just a little loose. Contact part 2. Yeah, she's pumping. Sounds a little funny. Hear an air hissing too. Must have a small leak somewhere. Oh yeah, she's leaking right out of here. Alright, guess that needs to be cranked down a bit more. Oh. Actually, it's coming out of this one. Okay, that one needs to be... Oh yeah, she's fucking finger tight. What the hell? Jeez. Huh. Yeah, it's probably not good on a pressure vessel, eh? I thought those were all tightened up. Alright, well, we'll tighten that up anyway. Okay. Yeah, it's starting to climb a little faster now. Okay. So that's all it was. It's just a loose fitting. Cool. Yeah, she's going to town. Nice. I dig. Okay, so don't mind the bodge job going on here. I need this to work for the weekend trip coming up, and then afterwards I'll clean it up. So we've got ourselves a ground. This is for the pump. I checked, that's got a good ground, so that's fine. We've got our signal wire over here and our positive side of the pump that's gonna just float around back there for now. And that runs into the relay. So our yellow is the trigger from the switch, our black is the ground from the switch, our red is our power. And again, this is very bodged. I just have this because I don't have a proper breakout thing right now, a distribution block. So I'm just gonna put it like this and wrap it in electrical tape. Again, this is just for the weekend. I really want to do a proper block and have it all nice and pretty. Anyway, and then the blue is the output to the pump, which will be fed by the relay. So there we go. That's all the wiring in the back. Kinda. Really, it's hooked up. It just needs to be cleaned up. And the last part is really just over here. We need to hook the switch up. So this is going to be the trigger. I just put 12 volts down this and then we're good. So we need to get power and ground for the switch. I don't know where. I'll have to start digging around and see what I want to poke into. I'd really like to just tap off one of the other switches. I really don't feel like messing around pulling this whole thing apart and all that crap. And I'm going to run this off regular 12 volt, not ignition, so I can turn the pump on whenever I want. Okay, so we've got our blue, our black, and our yellow. I pulled the one of the locker wires, and I'm just going to tap off this. So for me, the blue goes to the 12 volt, and black is ground. I absolutely despise triple splices. Shit's so annoying. Just trying to get the wires to stay there. Honestly, I should probably strip a lot more wire, that way it actually stays together, but just, ugh. Okay, so don't forget the heat shrink and pray it actually fits. So we just gotta heat that up and we're done. Yay! Okay, so after we're all done, that is what it frickin' looks like. Oh, whoop-de-friggin'-do. And, hey! It turns on. Excellent. And the Jeep's basically dead, so, woo. Okay, there you go. That's how you wire up all that crap. So, we got our relay, and it's all there, yeah. Finally. What a pain in the ass. This is way more involved than I was hoping for. In case I didn't show this off yet, this is what I got to go with the tank. It's a 30-foot hose. Get up to 200 psi. The interesting thing, I went for this because it's like black and braided and extra protected or some stuff. But it's thin. I wasn't expecting it to be so thin, but you know, it reaches all around the Jeep. I mean, with it plugged in there, I can reach all the way out to that front tire there on the Civic, so not bad. So, look at what 30 feet can do. So we got this coming all the way out to the Civic. We can pump tires up. We've got portable air, son. Dude, for fuck's sakes. Yeah, buddy. Oh, that's cool as hell. Oh, it's good to know that the tire's not flat. Whee! Alright, I dig it. I like the new 30-foot hose, too. That is sweet. Okay, so now it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. How fast does it actually fill tires? We'll see. So the times, if you didn't watch the end of the Roush video, my buddy had a dual ARB air compressor under the hood without a tank, and his times were, the pressures we used were a little dumb, but 0 to 26 and 7 to 26, so you figure a completely flat tire to running to my highway pressure, and then in just an air down trail tire from 7 to running pressure. So his times were 3 minutes and 33 seconds for 0, and I think like 1 minute 30 seconds for 7 to 26. I'll put the times in. I already forgot, but anyway, look at our 7 psi, and we're getting down to our 0 over there. So yeah, I guess since I have a tank, I will make use of my tank, because just comparing pumps would be a little dumb, because we obviously know this one's going to take more. So I'm going to run this guy up to 150, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we're going to have the engine running for all these tests, just because, you know, just to be fair. More voltage, more speed. So right now, I'm timing how long it takes the pump to fill up. So, we get a couple readings here. So at 120, here we are, we're at 1 minute 25 seconds. So it takes 1 minute and 25 seconds to get to 120, if that was your cutoff. But we've got 150, so we'll use it. Also, LOL. It's dancing, it's dancing. That's really cool, actually. What the fuck? Okay, 2 minutes on the money. So it takes exactly 2 minutes to fill up our tank to 150. Alright, I guess now we'll set this up to fill tires. Okay, so here we go, you ready? We're going to start the timer. And fill. So you can see, pressure drops up pretty quick. About 80 right now though, which is kind of cool. claims it's holding it at 70. I don't really trust this gauge too much though. It's a little off. The only down part sucks from the Viair kit. We're at 1 minute and 30 seconds right now. We're about 20 PSI. We trust this thing after 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Okay, so our time there is 4:19. But I would probably take a few seconds off because I think when I let go it wasn't pressurizing. So to be fair, we'll say like maybe 4:15. Still, that's an extra 45 seconds over the ARB. And that was with a 150 PSI tank to help us start. So our total time was like 6 minutes 15 seconds if you start from 0. So that kind of sucks. Okay, so we're back up to 150 PSI on the tank. So now let's see how this one does. This one's at like 7. That one is looking at about 215. I might have went a little over my mark, so you know, maybe a little closer to 210, but still, yeah. So we're looking at about a constant 45 seconds longer to do what that ARB does without a pump or without a tank. So yeah, you be the judge of that. Okay, so if this video actually works, you can see the pump gets rather hot. 216, 218 on that block. And you can see all these fittings over here get quite toasty as well. So you can see the restrictions and all that stuff. More heat, more restriction, more loss, things like that. No es bueno. But yeah, really gets a little warm too. Oof, ouch. Actually, that gets rather hot. I don't know if that's because of the heat coming off this or the power that's running through that, but damn. Maybe it's not a 30 or 40 amp relay. Lordy. Well, that's good to know. So yeah, she gets very hot. And that probably has something to do with our not so great time. So maybe if we had larger fittings or maybe a high flow pump or, you know, things like that. But yeah, this stuff gets very hot, so be careful what you put around the pump. Okay, so there you go. That's an entire onboard air system for you. Pump, tank, air locker, and all the electrical and hardware bits to go with it. Is it worth it? I don't know. It's kind of cool. It's nice if you got to fill someone up, but and the tank kind of helps. It's like a, you know, a reserve. So when you're switching from one tire to the next, it can fill up a little, but I don't know. It might just be worth getting a bigger pump, honestly. The tank's not super useful. Especially when it comes to the air locker, man. It would just be easy to turn the pump on for like 5 seconds and then have a locker. Different strokes for different folks. But hey, you can do this. Damn, that's wet. It's very wet. Oh, I should mention, it is rather humid. Pew. Check this out. Make sure to drain the main vein every now and then. You're gonna be a little wet. Anytime today. Jesus, really? Yum. There you go. Onboard air. You be the judge.